people, including contractors and government employees. If you look out to your right, you can see building 17. That building houses the kitchens where you make the astronaut food, which includes freshly grown meals like fruit and vegetables, and freeze-dried or specially prepared meals like spaghetti with meat sauce. That building also houses the project offices for Project Orion, which I will be talking about more at our next stop. Or at our second stop, sorry. We're still on our way to our first stop. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look out to your right once again, you will see a tall windowless building with a flag on top. That will be our first stop, Mission Control, and that flagpole marks the very center of this JSC facility. And we keep the flag on 24/7 while we have an American astronaut up in space. So that flag has been flying for over 13 consecutive years, and we make sure to always have at least one American on the space station. If y'all look out to your left, you will see building 20. This building is one of our newest office buildings. Those green tinted windows let in natural light, but on a warmer day they would keep out the heat. And then we do have special parking spaces where if you drive an electric car, you can actually charge it while you work. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you look out to your right, again, you can see our first stop, the Christopher C. Kraft Jr. Mission Control Center, named after Chris Kraft, who was actually our first ever flight director and went on to become the head of the entire NASA administration. And he was actually in charge of NASA during our later Apollo missions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we are approaching Building 30. Make sure y'all remain seated until the tram does come to a full and complete stop. Once the air brakes pop and set, you may exit to your right and your right side only, please. Wait for me to get in front of you, then start following me inside. Now, make sure, once again, y'all have that row number memorized right above your knees in the middle, so that you may return to your exact same seat after this stop. Thank you. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to Building 30. Now at this time, I would like to let you know that it will be cinema-style seating once we are upstairs. So once you're up, just go ahead and pick a row and then move all the way down to the left. Make sure you keep small children in your lap so we can make more room for the adults. However, we are not going to have enough seats for everyone. So once upstairs, if you are not able to find a seat, we're going to have you stand along a white podium at the back of the room. Also, if you do have a little one who needs to make a little noise, squirm around a bit, Danny and I will be in the waiting area just outside of the room, so just go ahead and take them out there, and Danny and I can answer questions. After the presentation, you'll be able to head back in and answer questions, or ask questions. The presenter will help you out, that sort of thing.
Florida, this is Houston. Do we have liftoff?
Well, here we are at Mission Control.
Alrighty guys, again make sure you'll move all the way down to the left.
Move down to the left. I'm sitting there. I wanted to sit in the middle too.
But nevertheless, I am your host here for your first stop at Mission Control, and I would like to begin by saying thank you. Thank you so much for choosing to be our guest here at Space Center Houston, and I hope that you're having a great day thus far. Weather seems to be quite nice out there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have arrived. This is it. This is the one and only world-famous Apollo Mission Control Center. This is where it all took place, ladies and gentlemen. This is what made this. The people that were working this room helped make it possible for us to make our first successful landing on the moon in July of 1969. This is the actual room, and believe it or not, this is the actual equipment that was in the room on that day. This entire building is a National Historic Landmark, and therefore everything in these rooms is authentic to that day. So this is not a movie set. These are not props, and these are not models. This is the real deal. So if you ever wondered what did the cutting-edge technology look like in the 1960s, there you go. Now, even in this room, we're back in the 1960s. This was the official viewing room, and this is a very, very special and historic place as well. And I can promise you that we're back in the 1960s because if you are sitting on the second row or all the way to the back of the viewing room, if you look at the seat back in front of you, those gray metal containers are called ash trays. For all that healthy smoking going on in the 1960s. But because we are a National Historic Landmark, that means that everything has to be authentic, right down to our ashtrays. Now, in this special room, ladies and gentlemen, this was never open to the public during missions. The only people that were allowed in here were NASA family members of the astronauts, also high-ranking military officers, high-level NASA administrators, and also every American president from Lyndon Johnson to George W. Bush has sat in here. And in 1991, we had a visit from Her Majesty the Queen of England, and she sat in 1, 2, 3 in your chair, sir, so you are now king for the day. That 87 steps was worth it now, just to come and see me. So in any event, that's where she sat. And ladies and gentlemen, the astronauts loved this room. I can assure you that some of you are sitting in places that where our famous astronauts sat. Maybe Neil Armstrong sat there, maybe John Glenn, any number of the astronauts from those days. So this is a very special room as well. Now, this Mission Control Center opened in 1965, and it served all the way to 1992. And during that time, there were 41 missions that were flown and controlled from this Mission Control Center. If you look inside Historic Mission Control, and on the right-hand wall over there, you will see wooden plaques that are attached to the wall. Each one of those plaques represents one mission flown from this Mission Control Center. And the plaques are identical to the cloth patches that the astronauts wore on their flight suits during their mission. Now, not a lot of people know this, but the astronauts themselves got to design their own patch for their mission. And they took that very seriously because they knew that whatever symbol they came up with on their patch, that was supposed to stand for them and everything they hoped to accomplish during their mission. So let's look a little more closely. The large plaques along the very bottom, these are from the Gemini years, the middle 1960s, when we had 2 astronauts in the spacecraft. And in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, the Gemini program does not get nearly the recognition it deserves. Because if the Gemini program had not been successful, we weren't going to the moon. Here's why. Ladies and gentlemen, it takes 5 things for us to go to the moon. The first one is to learn how to orbit in space. And of course, the Mercury program did that for us. But the second one was how to rendezvous in space, how to get 2 spacecraft on the same orbital plane. The third thing was how to make those spacecraft dock and become one spacecraft in orbit. And the next thing is doing EVAs, or spacewalks. Can the human being even work out in space? And the fifth thing had to do with long duration space flight. Could the human being survive a trip to the moon and back? So when this mission control opened in 1965, those were their tasks that they had to complete. The first mission out of this room, which was mission Gemini 4, answered one of those questions. It answered, could we actually walk and live and work in space? The answer was yes. If you look over at this poster on this wall here, this is astronaut Ed White in Gemini 4 in 1965, the first American astronaut to leave the spacecraft and go for what we call for a walk in space. And he was outside for about 20 minutes. This was extremely dangerous in those days, ladies and gentlemen, because we had not yet figured out how to use a swimming pool to simulate the microgravity in outer space. So he was very much on his own, but that proved that we could indeed work in space.
And one last look.
Building 11. This building houses the cafeteria for the employees. So it opens up at around 10 or 11, and then it stays open until about 3 to 4. Now, if someone does work odd hours and they want to get something to eat and they're working at night or something like that, they can actually go off-site, and most of the cafeterias and such in the area actually offer special discounts specifically for NASA employees. Now, if you look out to your right and up ahead a bit, you can see a bunch of old bikes in front of Building 32. Now, these bicycles have been here since we opened the facility in 1965, and these are the original bicycles. NASA has never bought new bikes, and for the most part, NASA doesn't even really fix them up. The employees are all scientists and engineers and astronauts, so if they really wanted to fix one, they could do that on their own. And actually, most of the bikes are still in very good condition. Now, the thing about the bicycles, though, is that you can take any bike from any building right over to another building and then drop it off and head inside. However, you are not allowed to lock the public bikes. So, if you use one to get somewhere and then you come back out, someone else may have taken it and then you'll have to walk. That's just how it is. Also, because this is Houston and it does get very hot and humid, especially during the summer, some of these buildings actually have showers in the lobby. So if you ride over to a building to meet with your boss and you get there all hot and sweaty, you can hop in the shower real quick and freshen up. We keep that nitrogen stored at 320 degrees below zero. That's because inside the gray building to the right is a vacuum chamber. And what we do here is we put parts and equipment inside of the vacuum chamber, and then we pump in the nitrogen. We then test the parts and equipment while they are submerged in that negative 320 degrees nitrogen, so that we can make sure that they'll be able to survive in the extreme cold of space. And that is part of Building 32, which is known as the Space Environment Training Simulator. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Building 9. Now at this time, I would like to let you know that this is an active facility. So, please make sure you keep your voices down, as if we are too loud, they can have us removed from the building. And I'd like to let you know it's 26 steps leading up to the viewing area this time. If you are physically or medically unable to go up 26 steps, which is what you see right here, and then one more little bit of 6 steps, our wonderful driver Danny will be right over here. Just head over to him if you can't make it up, and he will be able to assist you. Otherwise, wait for me to get to the stairs and follow me.
There's a yellow cone up there.
Is in use for our scientists, astronauts, and engineers. It takes about 3 to 4 years of training to become an officially certified astronaut. And during that time, they would have spent about 100 hours training in this building. Directly in front of us are the mock-ups and trainers for the International Space Station, or ISS. Now, we do not have the entire station made in this building. We just have the small number of modules. So the various other space agencies that assisted with its construction also have to assist us with training the astronauts. Now, the various other nations include Russia, Japan, Canada, and then the European Space Agency's training facility is located in Germany. So that's the other country that they have to go to. And then anyone from any country who's training to go to the station actually has to go to all 5 of those agencies as well. Now, if you look at each module, you can see a large black rectangle with the name of that module on it. And then any module that you see with 2 flags on it means it was built as a joint project. So you can look at each module and get a sense of who built what. And at this time, I'm going to head to the second part of Building 9. Y'all may take any pictures or video that you would like.
Ready?
Designed to be exactly the same. It's designed to be close, so that when you're controlling it, it's easier, you know, for a person to know what they're doing.
Look at the size much bigger than the real.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What's all the debris on the rovers?
If you look in the center back of this area, you can see 2 large cone-shaped objects. These are our Orion mock-ups. Now, Orion is the name of a capsule that will be on the end of a 400-foot rocket. It will be able to carry up to 4 astronauts into deep space, which is something that NASA has been unable to do for over 40 years. It will provide an emergency abort capability during the climb to orbit, sustain the crew during spaceflight, and provide safe re-entry from deep space return velocities. Now, we are planning on sending this rocket to Mars. However, it is also being designed to be able to go to the Moon or the moons of Mars. Now, this rocket is going to be tested in September of this year. That is when the test is scheduled. We're going to send it about 3,600 miles away from the Earth, so about 3,600 miles away, turn it around and bring the capsule home to test its re-entry capabilities. To the left of Orion, you will see a large blue structure. This is the docking simulator. It does require very careful skill and training when docking with the International Space Station. And a quick note, those legs, we're going to see 2 of our most recent robots in just a moment that actually have legs. But for now, again, we have the docking simulator right here. The reason we have to do a lot of training is because the station orbits the Earth at 17,500 miles an hour, which is roughly 5 miles per second. So to dock with it, we have to get our vehicle going at the same speed and then close enough to attach their docking ports without actually bumping the fuselage of the vehicle into the main body of the station, as that could cause quite a bit of damage. Now after this time, you guys are going to head down to the final part of Building 9. As you head down, take note of our robots. We have Robonaut, or R1, who is designed to go on the surface of the moon, but never did. And he looks like an astronaut with a golden Boba Fett helmet. And then we also have Spidernaut, which has 8 legs and is being designed to carry supplies for our astronauts. We're going to put basically a big basket on top of it, and it will follow them around.
Okay. I'm guessing that's supposed to be an astronaut down there. Simulated. So once they know we're going to watch them down here.
Oh, sure, they just become oblivious to it. They have people coming through all day.
Young ones.
If you look back at the docking simulator, directly to the left of it, you can see a large white pole sticking straight up. This is a working mock-up of the space station's onboard robotic arm, known as the Remote Manipulator System, or RMS. It is also known as the Canada Arm, as it was built in Canada. Now, this arm down here is actually a lot larger and stronger than the actual arm on the station, because the way they designed the ISS's robotic arm, it actually is not strong enough to lift its own weight while it is on Earth. So they designed it to be strong enough to move around and operate in 0G. However, as long as it's in gravity, it's not strong enough to move. So this one they had to build a lot larger. Now the arm on the station was used to attach ISS modules, and it helps dock visiting vehicles and assist the astronauts on their spacewalks. In this building, we do have a few rovers. There's one next to the robots at the second stop, and then we've got 2 back here along the back wall at the third. Now, each of these vehicles are being designed to be able to drive along the surfaces of the moon or Mars, and they are being designed to be mobile bases for our astronauts. So on the back of the main body of each rover, there are 2 holes. And those are there so that the astronauts can plug their suit into the vehicle and then climb out and drive it in their flight suit, thus leaving the spacesuit outside. This way the astronauts will be able to live inside of the rovers, and each rover is designed to be able to allow 2 astronauts to live inside of it for 14 straight days, with sleeping and sanitary facilities provided. And they have turned this into part of the astronaut training. There was a time when we were testing astronaut candidates, and they would put 2 astronauts in a rover for 3 straight days to see how they handle the isolation.
And I thought you were going the wrong way.
Yeah, I went the right direction this time.
Makes a change. We'll be heading back, and then we'll be having some lunch.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, as we make this turn, if you look out to your right, you will see building 37. This building used to be the lunar receiving lab. So anything that came back from the moon was quarantined inside of here, just to make sure it wasn't emitting too much of the radiation it absorbed from being in space. Also, you guys, because we're not going to the moon anymore, this building has been turned into the Life Sciences building. So what we do here now is try to combat the various negative effects that being in weightlessness has on your body. While in space, the astronauts' bones actually move apart, so your spine will decompress and you get a little taller, your arms and legs get longer. Also, your bones and muscles atrophy. And there are a lot of other bad things that happen, the immune system weakens, that sort of thing. So we've got to make sure that our astronauts are healthy while in space. Now, when
when they come back down to Earth, they're actually, for the most part, pretty okay. They do get what's called chicken legs, where the fluid will go from their legs up into their upper body and head, and so their legs get a lot skinnier. But for the most part, we're actually able to combat most of the negative things that happen in space. They have ways to prevent the bone loss from happening for the most part. The astronauts still do lose some bone. The muscle loss they can prevent, that sort of thing. Two things that are permanent with the astronauts are that when they come back down, they'll have a problem with their eyes, with too much fluid building up in their eyes, so we've got to look into preventing that. And then also the bone loss. The astronauts, for the about a third of the astronauts still come back down to Earth with less bone than they had going up. So sometimes the astronauts will have a limited number of missions to the ISS that they're allowed to go on in their lifetime. To your right, you will see building 31. This building houses the world's largest collection of moon rocks. The rocks are stored in special cabinets that are kept cool with liquid nitrogen. And that's so that the rocks will not be reacting to anything or undergoing any changes while they are in storage. We would then be able to pull them out and actually test them once they thaw.
You guys are getting a couple of photos of me by those rockets over there.
Just don't launch me into space.
Oh. You're no fun. There's a few people I'd like to see go into outer space.
So the major plans will be picking up where we dropped off.
Eli, don't go in.
Boo.
Here's a rocket for you.
This is called a Saturn V. Picture that much thrust coming out of all 5 of them.
Yep.
I've seen
Well,
them.
you're pushing several thousand
Billion.
ton. Well, not billion. Several thousand ton. And you're trying to break the gravitational pull of the Earth. It's
Look how big they are.
yeah.
I've seen them, but I've never been actually next to one.
Well, you have now. We are now in the food hall. They've got all different kinds of yummy things for us to dine upon. Let's go. Once again, we're eating healthy. I've got a hot dog and fries. Michael's got chicken tenders and fries. They don't know what chips are over here. And some root beer. And then at 3 o'clock we're heading back to the hotel.
Yep.
Our bus leaves at 3 o'clock sharp, so we had to be ready for that. Otherwise it's a long walk.
And we're talking about a long walk.
Which means you'll probably get back there by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's a lot of photos here. As you can see. Yeah, it's a puzzle, man.
Let's see.
Wow. That was good. Glad they were open.
Yes.
There's our bus.
Huh?
I said, there's our bus. Eventually.
Funny thing is, we were here before it was.
Yeah, that's alright.
Take us with you wherever you go. Search for some.
We're trying to locate a Chinese restaurant. There's a lot of shops down here and back there. Here's where we're having dinner tonight. And what did you order?
The sweet and sour shrimp.
And I ordered the Szechuan beef.
Sweet and sour shrimp has always been a favorite of mine.
Well, here's my beef and Michael's shrimp, which we are about to give thanks for, and we're going to really enjoy it. Well, today turned out to be a pretty good day. But it's that time again, so good night and God bless.